You're about to discover something that most women never figure out. Not from friends, not from dating advice, and certainly not from trying harder. There is a single moment, one subtle shift that when applied just once, plants you so deeply in a man's mind that he can't stop thinking about you. And the strangest part, he won't even understand why he misses you so intensely. He won't be able to explain why his chest feels tight when he thinks of you, why your absence seems louder than anyone else's presence. This isn't manipulation, it's about insight, the kind that gives you access to how his mind works, how his heart connects, and why some women vanish from memory while others become unforgettable. So many women try to make a man miss them by showing up more, texting more, caring more. But here's the reality. Missing doesn't happen when you do more. It happens when you stop doing something he never realized he relied on. It's the absence, the quiet shift, the single change that creates a void he can't fill with anyone else. In this guide, I'll walk you through exactly what that is, step by step. But before we go further, ask yourself, are you ready to stop chasing his attention and start becoming the one person he cannot get out of his mind? Once you make this shift, he'll miss you in ways that confuse him, consume him, and leave him wondering why. Most people assume that making someone miss you is about distance. That if you disappear for a while, don't reply, or make yourself unavailable, he'll suddenly realize what he lost. While space can matter, it isn't what sparks the deep, aching kind of missing that genuinely changes how a man feels about you. Here's the truth. The emotional trigger that makes a man miss you isn't your absence. It's the loss of a feeling he can't recreate anywhere else. Men don't miss people. They miss how they felt when that person was around. Let me repeat that because it's crucial. Men don't miss you. They miss the version of themselves they became when you were present. Think about it. When does a man truly feel regret? When does he replay moments wondering if he made a mistake? Not when you're physically gone. It's when he senses something inside him feels different without you, and he has no idea how to recover it. You created an emotional state in him. Maybe it was peace, maybe excitement, maybe being genuinely seen. Whatever it was, his mind connected that feeling to you. When you pull away, not just physically, but emotionally, he starts searching for it. He looks for it in other people, in routines, in distractions. But nothing works because that feeling was tied to your presence, and now it's gone. This is where most women misunderstand the process. They think making him miss you means making him notice your absence. Missing isn't about noticing. It's about feeling loss, and loss only hits when something valuable disappears. If you want him to miss you, truly miss you, you can't just leave. First, you have to become something his mind registers as essential. Not because you do everything for him, but because you created an emotional experience he's never had with anyone else. When you take that away, his system senses it like something vital has been removed. He doesn't think, where did she go? He feels, why do I feel so empty? That is the difference. That is what sparks longing. Once you understand this, you'll stop wasting energy trying to be missed by someone who never really felt your presence in the first place. When a man misses you, truly misses you, it shows up in ways he will never say aloud. He won't post about it. He won't mention it to his friends. He might not even admit it to himself. But you will see it in subtle signs, in quiet behaviors that reveal exactly what's going on inside his mind. Most women don't realize that men process missing someone through actions, not words. When he's missing you, he won't write long messages about how he wishes things were different. Instead, he'll act in small ways, often seemingly random, that are really him trying to reconnect with the feeling he lost. He might check your social media, not out of obsession, but because seeing your face, even on a screen, gives him a piece of the sensation he craves. He might reach out with a song, a memory, a random question, not because he needs information, but because he needs connection. He wants to know you're still within reach, still part of his world in some way. Or he might casually mention you in conversation, pretending it's nothing important, yet he's feeling it inside. If your energy remains pointed at him, waiting for recognition or hoping he notices, he senses it, keeping you in his world as someone available, not someone who has moved on. Another common mistake is trying to prove you're fine without him, posting about how happy you are, how busy your life is, or how unbothered you seem. But attempts to prove anything are transparent. They signal that you still care what he thinks. In reality, you haven't fully left. You're only performing distance. Performance doesn't create missing. It creates doubt. The women who truly make men miss them aren't trying to orchestrate it. They aren't planning their next move or checking whether he's paying attention. They've genuinely shifted. They've moved focus from him back to their own lives. Not as a strategy, but as a real choice to reclaim their energy. And that shift, that authentic shift, is what he senses in his bones, not because of evidence, but because you've stopped performing entirely. This is what it looks like in practice. You aren't avoiding him. You simply aren't seeking him out. You respond when it feels natural and stay silent when it doesn't. You don't post for his eyes. You live your life fully for yourself. That authenticity, that absence of hidden agendas draws him in ways that any strategy never could. Your presence becomes magnetic because it's real. You're no longer acting or measuring reactions. You've become the woman whose absence resonates. Not because you've vanished, but because you exist independently, fully, and intentionally. He begins to sense the shift even before he understands it consciously. Every glance, every subtle gesture, every trace of attention he gives is filtered through the awareness that you are no longer emotionally accessible in the old way. And that is the power of genuine longing. When a man misses you under these circumstances, it isn't fleeting. It lingers. It pulls at him, slowly but steadily, as he unconsciously seeks to restore what you offered, what only you could offer, emotionally and energetically. That is the difference between temporary notice and profound, irresistible missing. This is not manipulation. It is mastery of presence, of emotional impact, and of self-possession. It is the quiet art of becoming unforgettable by simply being yourself fully, and then allowing your absence to reflect the magnitude of your presence. Because when you're not trying to control how he feels, when you're not managing what he thinks, he's left with only the raw reality of your absence. No game to decode, no act to see through, just the simple, undeniable truth that you're not there anymore. And he doesn't know how to handle that. That's what makes him miss you. Not your cleverness, not your strategies, but your genuine lack of concern over whether he notices you're gone. Because the moment you stop caring if he misses you, that's when he begins feeling it in everything he does. Let's discuss what I call the pattern disruption, the single most powerful move that turns passing interest into all-consuming longing. Most women never even consider it. This isn't about going cold. It isn't about being harsh or closed off. It's something subtler, quieter, and infinitely more effective. It's about altering the emotional rhythm he's come to expect from you. When you first connect with someone, you bring a certain energy. Perhaps it's warmth, maybe lightness, perhaps deep understanding. Whatever it is, he grows accustomed to it. It becomes the baseline of who you are to him. His nervous system starts anticipating that version of you every time you show up. But the fact that you linger in his mind enough to surface in his words, that's everything. When you created that emotional imprint, when you offered him a version of himself he enjoyed being with, you became a reference point in his mind. And now, in your absence, he notices the difference. He compares moments to how they felt when you were present. He sits alone and realizes the quiet feels heavier than it used to. He interacts with others, and they don't spark the same feelings you did. That uneasy feeling, that restlessness, that's him missing you. But he won't label it that way, not yet. He'll just sense that something is off. He'll feel as though he's searching for something he can't identify, like a piece of his day has vanished and he doesn't know how to replace it. That sensation doesn't dissipate. It accumulates because the human mind resists unresolved loops. And by stepping away without warning, without drama, without offering him a chance to fix or explain it, you left an open loop in his psyche. He cannot close it. He cannot resolve it. So it lingers, humming quietly beneath everything he does. A constant awareness of your absence that he senses more than he can articulate. That's when missing evolves into something deeper. It becomes a need, not merely wanting you around, but needing to understand why losing you weighs so heavily. That's when you realize you're not just gone from his life, you're absent from it. And those are profoundly different experiences. One he carries with him every single day until he acts on it. Here's where most women sabotage their own power without realizing it. They do everything correctly at first. They generate chemistry. They're present. They make him feel something real. But then, when they hope he'll miss them, they commit one enormous error. They try too hard to be missed. They post things intended to catch his eye. They drop hints. They orchestrate moments, hoping he'll perceive a difference. They pull away, but continuously check to see if it's working. And in doing so, they destroy the very thing that would make him miss them: authenticity. Here's the uncomfortable truth. You cannot make a man miss you if you're still energetically reaching for his attention. Missing requires him to experience your absence, not your efforts to be noticed. Consider this. When do you miss someone most? When they're genuinely living their life without looking back at you. Not when they pretend to be gone while monitoring your every move. Men can sense energy. They may not articulate it. They may not even consciously realize they're perceiving it. When you alter that energy, not by vanishing, but by adjusting its intensity, something shifts within his perception of you. You remain present, yet you're different. He cannot discern why. It isn't obvious. You're not giving him the silent treatment. You're not expressing hurt or frustration. You're simply gentler, less eager, less emotionally available. Even when physically present, your warmth remains, but it is contained. You're there, yet not entirely reachable, even when he meets your gaze. This triggers what psychologists describe as a disruption in pattern recognition. He begins searching for the version of you he remembers. He tests you. He attempts to evoke that familiar energy. He jokes, asks probing questions, creates moments designed to draw you out. And when you don't respond as before, when that energy remains quietly withdrawn, something inside him shifts toward alarm. Not overtly, not in any way he could verbalize, but internally, his brain registers a warning. He starts questioning, did I do something wrong? Is she distancing herself? What changed between us? And here's the critical element. You're not supplying answers. You're not explaining the shift. You're not assuring him that all is well. You are simply this new, slightly distant version of yourself, leaving him to dwell in uncertainty, discomfort, and the unknown. This forces him into a state of mental pursuit, not because you instructed him to chase, but because humans are wired to resolve ambiguity, particularly concerning someone they once felt close to. His mind literally cannot release it. Whenever he's with you, he scrutinizes you, seeking to understand the change. When apart, he replays interactions, hunting for clues. The more he searches, the more mental territory you occupy. You become an unsolvable puzzle, a transformation he cannot comprehend. And that mystery, that unresolved question mark, keeps you central in his thoughts, even when you're absent. This is where true missing begins, not from departure, but because, even in presence, you are not fully present as he remembers. And he experiences that absence as a weight he cannot explain. Now here's a principle that will completely shift everything you believe about being missed. The most unforgettable women aren't the ones who do the most. They are the ones who know precisely when to do nothing. Let me clarify. There is a moment in every relationship, every dynamic, every connection where a man begins to feel comfortable. He starts to assume you will always be there, that your attention, your warmth, your affection are guaranteed, that your energy will always be available whenever he chooses. And this is the moment most women overlook. Instead of noticing this shift, they do more. They push harder. They increase their effort, believing that if they simply love him better, show up more consistently, demonstrate their worth more clearly, he will suddenly see and appreciate them. But what actually occurs is the opposite. The more you do at this moment, the more you reassure his subconscious that you're not going anywhere. That no matter how little effort he invests, you will remain. Once his nervous system registers that, once he senses that certainty, the tension fades. And with the tension, so does the longing. Longing thrives in uncertainty, in the space between holding and losing, in the question of whether she will stay or go. The women who become unforgettable recognize this moment, and instead of doing more, they do less, not to manipulate, not as punishment, but out of self-respect. They stop initiating. They stop being the one who always reaches out first. They stop filling silences, planning every meetup, carrying every conversation. They reclaim their energy and redirect it to themselves, to their own lives, to the people and things that genuinely reciprocate their effort. And this subtle shift, this quiet withdrawal of what was once freely given, creates a void, a space where their presence once lived. That space becomes impossible to ignore. Here is what occurs in his mind. Initially, he may not consciously notice, but his body does. His routine does. The emotional rhythm of his day feels off. Something is missing, though he cannot articulate it. Slowly, awareness begins to creep in. She hasn't texted. She didn't check in as she normally does. She's not asking about my day. She seems fine but distant. What is happening? And because you haven't made this a conversation, because you haven't announced your change or demanded he notice, he cannot label it as conflict. It cannot be filed away as just another argument that will pass. It settles in him as uncertainty, as unease, as a growing awareness that something is shifting, something beyond his control. That lack of control triggers the missing. For the first time, he may wonder if you will be there tomorrow, if your energy will return, if he has already lost something he didn't realize he had. That quiet panic, that subtle anxiety, makes him feel your absence in everything. The silence of his phone, the emptiness of his evening, the lack of someone checking on him. He begins to miss the small things, the things he never noticed when they were present. Your good morning texts, the way you laughed at his jokes, the way you made him feel seen and interesting just by listening. Then comes the realization that shifts everything. He sees that all of that could simply stop, that you could choose to no longer invest your energy in him, Suddenly, you are no longer the sure thing he took for granted. You are the presence he fears losing. That is the power of doing nothing at the precise moment. It is not about playing games. It is about valuing yourself enough to stop performing for someone who has stopped showing up. When you do this, you don't just make him miss you. You make him question everything he believed he understood about your significance in his life. By now you have learned something that most women never grasp. You understand that being missed is not about doing more, it is about knowing when to step back. It is about creating space for someone to feel your absence instead of constantly demonstrating your presence. You have seen that men don't miss people, they miss feelings. And the most potent thing you can do is become tied to a feeling he cannot find anywhere else, then gently withdraw access to it. But here is what you must understand. Everything I've shared is effective. It works. It can make him miss you, perhaps even obsess over you. But the real question is not whether you can make him miss you. It is whether you should. The truth is, this is not about control. It is not about punishing someone for failing to meet your standards. It is not about strategizing until he comes running back. This is about something deeper. It is about reclaiming your energy, recognizing when you are overextending, and having the courage to stop. It is about understanding that your presence is a privilege, not a guarantee. If someone fails to honor that, you do not need to convince them. You simply redirect your focus to people and pursuits that genuinely value what you offer. So yes, apply what you've learned here. Pull back your energy. Create space. Allow him to experience life without your warmth, but do so from a place of self-respect, not strategy. Do it because you deserve it, not because you are manipulating an outcome. And when you do it this way, one of two things happens. Either he awakens to your absence, recognizes what he had, and returns with real effort, genuine consistency, and true appreciation. If that occurs, you will know it is real, because you did not have to beg for it. You simply stopped accepting less than you deserve, or he does not. He remains comfortable in his low effort. He fails to rise to meet you. He does not pursue what he has lost. If that happens, you have been given the clearest answer possible. He was not your person, because the right person does not need to lose you to realize your value. But if he is the right person, he will move mountains to regain you. So carry this truth with you. You are not difficult to miss. You are not challenging to appreciate. You have simply been investing your energy with people who are not prepared to receive it. That is not a reflection of your worth. It is a reflection of their capacity. The version of yourself that knows this, that can step back without guilt, walk away without looking back, and love herself enough to stop pursuing someone who is not pursuing her. That is the version that is unforgettable. That is the version that lingers in memory. Stop trying to force yourself to be unforgettable. Simply be the person who knows when to walk away. And trust me, he will spend the rest of his life wishing he had given you a reason to stay.